Richards, then Longhurst.
Quite a decision for Tony Longhurst to make, whether to go on with this or sit in behind the team leader.
I know what I'd do if I had the chance.
Go for it. I think Tony's going to do that shortly. Francevic extends his lead by 200 metres to George Fury. 5 back to Johnson, 100 back to Brock, and right behind Brock Harvey, Jim Richards and Tony Longhurst.
Francevic's lead now 3 seconds plus and pulling away from George Fury.
Coming out of Camalco Wonderlic corner, Peter Brock, 0-5. Not Brock's favourite circuit, Amaru Park. Pretty hard on the V8 cars, always has been.
Their biggest problem is literally just getting the car to track straight here. We can see Peter Brock in strife, under brakes, through the turns, the car slipping and sliding. It's 1,325 kilograms and it's carrying 100 kilograms of lead ballast just to bring it up to that weight. So it's one of the heavier cars in the field, and they're still running the same rim and tyre size that they ran last year, so more horsepower. They have to pull it up in a hurry. It's hard on brakes, it's hard on tyres. Certainly
well suited to some of the other longer and faster circuits,
as we saw in New Zealand.
Down towards the lake again. John Harvey, number 3, running the second of our Channel 7 race cams. There we take the pictures. He's following Peter Brock, and he's got the 2 JPS BMWs neatly tucked in behind him, and giving Brock a bit of a break on the field as he goes out chasing Dick Johnson. Heading up Bitchapave Hill, you can see Brock, and just ahead of Brock, of course, is Dick Johnson and George Fury in the Nissan Skyline, the Peter Jackson entry.
They're all a long way from Robbie Frank.
Peter Brock's situation, the tyres have gone off, and as you can see, they're going for a change of rubber. Maybe 52 laps around Amaru Park, perhaps like a 500k race at any other racetrack.
Well, it looks like they've gone back on to Pirelli D3s. I think they started the race on the D3 compound, which is the harder of the Pirelli radial tyre compounds. Tony Di Gennaro there, the team manager, just to the left of screen. We can barely see the car up on its central jacking system and leaves the pits again, but he would have lost.
He'll slick out, and Brock is slowing. He's going to the pit area. Number 05 holding down 3rd place for most of this race, and in he comes.
Wretched luck for Brock in the first 2 rounds of the Australian Touring Car Championship. An enormous cloud of smoke from behind the car. It did appear to be running quite well. Oh, they've got a fire in the engine bay, so it's losing oil everywhere, but it would appear to be just a leak or perhaps a seal blown, because the thing was still charging along very nicely. He didn't appear to have lost much time to George Fury. But it's a busy scene there in the dealer team pits at the moment. Not the sort of thing you want to be fiddling around with in a sprint race, I'm afraid. So bad luck for Peter Brock in the Mobile Commodore. Obviously, the new combination of 17-inch tyres and rims was working well. Brock was on the pace behind Fury and starts it up again. We'll keep an eye on them and see what they're going to do. What is he doing? Getting in, getting out. It's running. A confused scene. Pouring out smoke from the left-hand bank. Turn it off. No, I'd say it's curtains for Peter Brock. So the King of Moomba won't be crowned this weekend.
Well, bad luck indeed for Brocky, who takes the helmet off. Would love to have won here today, or at least put a little more pressure on the turbo cars that are running 1st and 2nd. It's been a hot run for Brocky here at Simmons Plains. He walks back, takes a look at the car. There's going to be no win for the Mobile Commodore team here today. The man looking good at this stage is Rob, extroverted Kiwi, who came to our shores last year and, of course, upset the apple cart here at Simmons Plains. Finished off the season winning. He started this season by winning round 1 and winning round 2. We hope you've enjoyed our telecast of the action from Simmons Plains. We look forward. Moomba might have many loyal followers, but he's vacated the throne this weekend to continue his European invasion. The Commodore challenge is daunting, with John Harvey, Neil Lowe and Graham Crosby ready to strike.
I believe it will be a battle of tyres and brakes, and I believe we've got both those areas covered very nicely.
It's not the Donington I thought it would be, with the new chicane and the 2 hairpins effectively. So it doesn't really suit us, I think, as much as I thought it would.
Berto Revalia also well positioned in the field, but at this stage, Brock, with it sideways, in command of 2nd round of the ETC. Into the pits. A lightning fast pit stop here for Peter Brock. Change of tyres. The track is very wet indeed. Engages the clutch, and Brocky goes back. Mercedes. Brock coming in, Allan Moffat at the ready, and Moffat will finally get a drive in an ECC championship round. Problems last start for Moffat, didn't actually get to race. Moffat being buckled into the car's ready to go, and Brock should be happy with that stop.
Oh yes, I mean early on we caught up past Tom and the guys. In fact I spent most of the time there catching up the Rovers. We seem to have the legs on the Volvos here, and we seem to have the legs on the Sierras and the BMs and what have you. So it was very, very encouraging. What we haven't got right is we've sort of zigged and we should have zagged in terms of tyre choice. But that's
well, as far as looking through the windscreen, it was just sleet, and the traction was unbelievable. You just get used to one little set of circumstances, and when it came down, because the snow is much more in volume than ordinary water that we have in Australia, it got wet in a hurry. So it was patchy all over the place, and one minute you'd be braking fine, next minute you'd be understeering off the track.
well, very, very satisfying indeed. We put on some tyres that we want to use in the race. We set the chassis up the way we want to use it, and the car was faster than ever. So we're absolutely delighted with the way the car's going. It's, I think, the best we've had it going since we got over to Europe, and I look forward to a most successful race.
And so do we, Peter, and we wish you the very best of luck in tomorrow's race.
Thank you very much.
The
We put on some tyres that we want to use in the race. We set the chassis up the way we want to use it, and the car was faster than ever. So we're absolutely delighted with the way the car's going. It's, I think, the best we've had it going since we got over to Europe, and I look forward to a most successful race.
pit stop now for the Mobile Commodore team as they come into the pits. Allan Moffat at the wheel, steps out, oil going into the car. They've got a problem. Looking underneath the car. So Moffat is out and Brock is underway.
Well, there's a minor engine problem. It's not revving out as well as it should. But I'll tell you what, this European racing, if we're not skating around in the snow, we're sliding around in the oil. The track's like a skating rink with the oil everywhere. I think in third position, we're holding it. That's about as best we can hope for today.
Laps wearing out.
I am. I was just saying to the boys there after practice yesterday that where would this motor and those tyres when we're in Europe? Fantastic. Now,
Weather's almost as cold.
It is almost as cold. We've had a lot of training recently, yeah.
Well, the turbos have been making hay while you've been away, but you've surely come up with the answer.
Yeah, I think that this racetrack does help us a little bit, particularly on these, getting pole position, one demon lap. And we've done a tremendous amount of work with the powertrain. Obviously, in Europe, we knew that we had a few things we had to rectify, but we were basically on the right track. And I think it was proven there in practice yesterday that, the Commodore has got the speed.
Okay, you're about to race, but it's a long race. How are you going to come out of it?
Well, the 60 laps doesn't really bother me. I think physically I've done a lot of hard driving over the last few months, so I'm pretty fit race-wise. Whether the car can sustain that remains to be seen, because I'm going to have to drive this car within an inch of its life really the whole way through, and just assume that it's all going to hang together.
And the turbos are still the ones to beat, I guess.
Well, yeah, they are, but I think that Jimmy Richards probably is always a bit of a dark horse back there, because
The turn, so he obviously has a problem. Back to race cam, which we're following out of the front of John Harvey's number 3 Mobile Commodore.
John Bauer just up ahead of him. This is now the battle for 7th and 8th spot.
He transforms this entire race. He's coming up the pit lane backwards. Well, he'll get his knuckles slapped over that one, I would suggest, but Brock has come up the back straight. We were looking at Francevic. So Francevic, I would assume, is now the leader in car number 10.
That's
well,
correct.
What a turnaround of events. Brock was circulating steadily in 60-second lap times. Remember, it was an oil filter that blew in this car at Simmons Plains.
Robbie Francevic.
So Robbie Francevic in car number 10 leads the field, and he's coming off the bowl at the moment and down on the main straight. And the surprise of all is that Glenn Seaton is within around about 4 or 5 car lengths from the back of the Volvo. So drama unfolding here with about 15 laps to go, I would say. Peter Brock out of proceedings. Harvey's car had trouble as well. Jim Richards goes by in car number 1, the black BMW. They are going all over the place in pit lane. Let's take a look at our leader, Rob.
Bad news for the mobile dealer team here at Wanneroo. Peter Brock was third on the track, not anymore. In the pits, trouble with tyres, and they're under the bonnet as well, so obviously there are a couple of things amiss with the 05 car. Brock not looking very happy at all. He had a battle on his hands as it was with the turbos, and of course John Bower continues to hold a substantial lead in this 5th round of the Touring Car Championship, with George Fury holding down 2nd place in the Nissan, and Brock no longer 3rd, so it's Nissan 2nd and 3rd, because Glenn Seaton now will be in 3rd spot on the racetrack.
Well, how things can change given just a matter of a minute. Brock was dropping back off the pace just a little, has decided to come into the pits. So Brock is in there. That's ruined any chance whatsoever that Peter Perfect had of winning today's round. The door is open, still sits in the car, but there goes the race for Peter Brock. Robbie Francevic makes it to 5th, and Dick Johnson is still out on the racetrack in car number 7.
Thanks very much, Wilco. It is busy down here at the moment. I'm earning my quids. With me is Tony Di Gennaro, the team manager for the Holden dealer team. Your man was in the pits very early. What was the problem with Peter Brock?
He had a fractured wire on the distributor.
You guys must have been walking under ladders in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's right.
The car appears to be missing a little as it went by that time too. That's still the same problem?
Could be. We're not sure, but we just sent him out and get on with it and try and finish the race. That loses any more time than absolutely necessary.
Thanks, Tony. Better luck for Service Paradise. So 2 of the leading contenders out of round 5. Here's Mike again.
It's a big gap. They will go. Look, Harvey's in trouble. Now, that puts both of the dealer team cars in strife. Did not see it happen. Goodness me, how unlucky are they this weekend and the weekend before. Harvey had problems last weekend, you'll recall, with brakes, and forever locking up brakes coming into that very tricky left-hander at Adelaide. They've been experimenting with different pads over the last few weeks, and they haven't been entirely happy. So John Harvey out of round 5. And
they believe it's time the Commodore gang turn the tables around.
Well, if they can't turn the tables on the racetrack, there's certainly plenty of opportunity here at Jupiter's. Hello and welcome to our exclusive 7 Network telecast. Of course, it's not just Peter Brock and the mobile Commodores looking for a change of luck here in Surfers. The ball hasn't dropped for Dick Johnson's number 17 Mustang for some time either. And Jim Richards continues staking his money on black without success. The high rollers so far this season have been Robbie Francevic and George Fury for the Volvo and Nissan turbos. And after the fast shuffle of qualifying yesterday, this is how they stand on the grid for today's race.
Time of year, it's unseasonably warm, and it's going to mean the tyres are going to be overworked somewhat. So it's a little bit different doing one quick lap in practice and trying to put 25 of them together in the race. But, well, they've got to get past. It's one thing to catch, another to pass, I guess.
The terrible turbos are right there alongside you.
Yeah, and I think it's a great credit too to Datsun there with those 2 Skylines, particularly Glenn Seaton there, 3rd on the grid. It's very hard running 2 cars competitively, and it's excellent, I think, effort for anyone to get 2 cars up so far on the grid.
You led a long way in Adelaide, came to grief. You had the lead for a while in Perth, came to grief again. What about here?
Yeah, we've had a good long searching look at ourselves to find out just why, and we realised that in our efforts to extract some more power to make up for the deficit which we've had in recent months over the turbos, that we stretched things a little, and that starts straining the relationship with the mechanical bits and pieces. And we've just been very, very careful now, putting a lot of new components in and lifing components, and we're replacing them a lot earlier than we would normally. But I believe we can achieve them. I think we need to achieve that balance between reliability and speed, or we're not going to be able to win Spa or Bathurst.
Everybody today is going to go helter-skelter.
Yeah.
Are you going to sit back, or are you going to be up there and making the pace?
No, you've got no option in these sort of races but to get out there and just go, and to a certain extent cross your fingers, and you might find a bit of a vibration in the car or something like that, and you've just got to say to yourself, well, I have to ignore that, because if I back off a bit, one of these other cars are going to go straight past me and win the race.
So it's a gamble, especially when you consider the heat and the tyres and those kind of tactics.
It is, yes, a bit of a gamble here. It's a whole new ball game. We're running a new car really at surface this year at this track. We don't know what's going to last for 25 laps, but it's one of the reasons why the Touring Car Championship is so important. It allows you to do your homework so that later on in the year, when you get to these very important long distance races, at least you know what works.
Pete, here's one gamble. You don't have to take the $1,000 pole winner's cheque from Bob Jane T-Mart.
Excellent.
Fantastic stuff.
Very, very happy to receive that too, and thank goodness Bob Jane's giving us some dollars. Things are a bit grim lately, Bob, I can tell you.
Peter Brock on pole position as the cars get set for round 6 of the Australian Touring Car.
From the tarmac. I guess it's in the order of about 24, 25 degrees. A lovely day at surface, but it's going to really carve up rubber. And this circuit is renowned for being quite abrasive on tyres. And this man, Peter Brock, is well aware of that. A stunning time in practice for Peter. But whether or not he can maintain it remains to be seen. There's George Fury in car number 30. His turbo, whilst will be...
Peter Brock setting a cracking pace out in front of the 6th round of the Touring Car Championship. Holden team manager Tony Di Gennaro. Tyres a problem today here?
I don't think so. I think we planned it so they would just last the distance and a little bit more.
So you've been timing the break between Peter and Francevic behind him and Jim Richards. Is he holding the gap?
He's been pulling away a gradual half a second a lap. And now he's slowed down a little, and just to save the car, save the tyres.
So are you confident he can keep his winning advantage?
Yes, I am.
Any possible weak links with the car?
Any possible what, sorry?
Weak links with the car.
Maybe the tyres, but that's the only weak link we hope at the moment.
Thank you very much, Mike Raymond, and well, all smiles Peter Brock, as you can imagine, on the grid here as he gets the just rewards for winning round 6 of the Australian Touring Car Championship from one of the 4X girls. Pete, let's move in here. Congratulations.
Thanks, Gary.
Great effort. You had some assist, though, I think, by a little mix-up among some of the other guys there in the first lap.
Yeah, the guys with the tyres that obviously don't give much grip in the first lap or two, and I noticed this at Adelaide, the same sort of thing happening. Obviously having problems in the first couple of corners, but nevertheless quite confident that the car was going to win anyway. It went fabulously well, and the lap times, well, they surprised us really. The car was running so neatly and so fast all day.
No problem with tyres?
None at all, no. I drove around the question mark of tyres, and I drove as fast as I considered I could, and I was staggered to find that the Volvo and the other lighter cars were actually falling behind, so we were very happy.
Well, Mel Davies is here from Castlemaine 4X, the general manager, and I'm sure he wants to shake your hand because you've taken out the race sponsored rather this afternoon.
Actually, it's pretty hot work out there.
Yeah, it is. You look
Thank
very
you.
hot, Peter. Congratulations on a very well-run race.
Thank you.
From our point of view, the whole thing's been a great success, and you've lent very much to the occasion today. Thank you.
That's a pleasure, and may I congratulate your company in becoming involved in touring car racing. I'd hope that there's more of it.
I think you'll see a bit more of it.
Thank you.
Right.
A word.
Marvellous finish. Yeah, that's what touring car racing needs. There's no doubt about that.
Well, of course, there's only a few weeks before you head back to Europe and to Spa on the 24-hour race. How are the preparations going?
Well, since we arrived back here from our testing the water exercise there back earlier in the year, we've done a lot of development and testing. We found we've got a fair bit of speed, but we want to make sure that we've got reliability. So for instance, we modified brake calipers so we can change pads in about 20 seconds. We've looked at engine specifications so that the engine will hang in there for 24 hours. But to prove it and to actually put the guys through the whole rigmarole of what it's like to stand out there in the middle of the night, feel the cold and wet and rain or whatever it might be, we're going to run a 24-hour test in the next week or so.
So that's using the crew that you're taking with you to Spa?
Yeah, and I reckon that'd be fair to say that if we get some guys there in the crew that say, I can't hack it, well, we'd rather know now rather than later. So it'll be testing for all concerned, and we're going to run it just like a race. Allan Moffat will be here, and it'll be as close as we can make it to how we want to drive the car for 24 hours at Spa.
Peter Brock has actually joined the freight train as well. There's Race Cam looking out the back of the Silverstone Computers Commodore, and John Bow closing slightly on...
Just have to make sure that Peter, when he does pass me, doesn't take one of his guards with him.
Good luck, Ross.
Okay, cheers. Well, this thing here, the differential temperature looks like it's gone round about 3 times, so I'm a bit worried about that. The G-box, Jeff, is not actually the glove box temperature, it's the gearbox temperature. I've got both pumps on, as you can see, and we've got water temperature, which is this one here. I don't know whether you can see it or not.
Yeah.
Well, that's where it should be. I've got a red light flashing over the other side, and oil temperature up around 120, which is okay, and I've got no rear brakes, so yeah, everything's going fine.
I noticed you had your brake bias wound fully up.
This motorsport feature is proudly brought to you by your mobile team. And Holden, Australia's driving future.
Presence. Peter Brock and Allan Moffat will lead the mobile dealer team with 2 cars, and they'll be joined in Belgium by John Harvey and Neil Lowe. Alan Grice, the barnstorming Sydney privateer, is also a guaranteed starter, while the 2 South Pacific Rovers will be handled by Sydney's Ron Dixon and Kiwis Denny Hulme and Neville Crichton. If dedication and preparation count for anything, Brock's Commodore campaign deserves to succeed. The mobile team carried out its own 24-hour enduro at Melbourne's Calder Park last week. It was a test not only for the car and drivers, but also for the vital link in the team, the pit crew.
There was no way we could possibly go to Spa not knowing whether we can do a 24-hour test and not testing all the equipment, people, ancillary equipment, car, drivers, everything, you know, because I'm sure there's going to be some problems throughout this 24-hour test, and we want to know about them now so that we can then take steps and be well prepared when we get to Spa.
The marathon test session was treated seriously by the team. Allan Moffat was flown back from London and believes the Aussie V8 will be hard to beat despite the problems encountered in those early ETC championship rounds.
Walkinshaw team were well and truly waiting for us, and their style of driving, the way they attacked the curbs, the way they attacked the chicanes was mind-boggling. I wasn't prepared to do it, but we're going to have to be prepared to do it. And a lot of the modifications that we've made to our mobile Commodore has been to be able to take a pounding for 24 hours. We saw what we had to do for 6 hours, and we did have a few breakages, and we don't want any repeats of that. So it would have been a total waste of time to go to Belgium for 24 hours if we hadn't had the preliminary races.
With the Rovers that obviously were the greatest opposition for the opening couple of rounds, it seems now that the Volvos are on the pace and BMW have come up with a win.
BMW is a sly bunch of fellows. They've got some engine developments there that I guess they're getting ideas from their Formula One program. Their cars are going to be fast, and over a 24-hour race, I won't discount them. The Rovers are fast anyway, and the Volvos have got that high-tech technology. They just plug little black boxes into them, and off they go, not taking anything away from their drivers. But we've got a very tough job to attack, and of course that's what's making it exciting. We've got to be on the pill to do it well.
Moffat's contribution to the Spa Challenge will be enormous. The Canadian-born professional won the acclaim of all with his tenacious handling of those big Fords at Bathurst nearly 2 decades ago. 500 milers were nothing to Moffat. He preferred to run single-handed in the distance races during that era. Moffat has also competed frequently in both the Le Mans and Daytona 24-hour classics, but Spa is a new challenge, and one he's ready to answer.
It should be fine. It should be just the middle of, well, the tail end of European summer, and although I'm sure it'll be chilly in the middle of the night, I would think we're going to be in good shape. Still the worry at Spa about it raining on one part of the circuit and dry on the other, so there's that contingent. A fabulous circuit, very much like Bathurst. Well, in lots of ways, hairier than Bathurst, I think. Very fast, and should suit the V8 in the Commodore.
What happens then after Spa? You do the British Tourist Trophy at Silverstone?
Yes, that's their 50th anniversary. I was at Silverstone not too long ago, and the organizers there are going to put a big effort behind that race, and a great prestigious event in England on the 7th of September. So it makes it a bit tight for us to get back for the Castrol 500 on the 14th of September, but that's our schedule, and we'll do it.
BMW, Rover, Volvo, Ford, and our Commodore. They're the fancied front runners in the 24 hours. Thanks to Alan Grice, Peter Brock and Allan Moffat, the Europeans are well aware of the down under force. And the Aussies are planning heat of another kind in a Belgian Spa next month.
This motorsport feature was proudly presented by your mobile team. And Holden, Australia's driving. If you've been following our motorsport telecasts this season, you'll have gathered from the comments of many drivers and team managers that there's a restlessness in the touring car ranks. The general feeling seems to be that there's just too much racing. With 10 rounds of the touring car title, plus the endurance championships and other one-off special events scattered across Australia and back again, the costs, even for the big budget teams, are prohibitive. Well, now it's reported that the Confederation of Australian Motorsport is giving serious consideration to slashing next year's championship to just 6 rounds. And of course that means that at least 3 of Australia's premier racetracks will miss out on the action. It seems there's no happy medium in touring car racing in Australia. It's either feast or famine. Australian Touring Car Championship, and the man on pole position, Peter Brock. Congratulations.
Thanks, Gary.
Big effort to get there.
Yeah, tough session. A lot of effort from the other competitors because this circuit is so narrow and twisty and bumpy. It's pretty hard to pass, so we're very happy to have pole.
Your third pole position in the championship series. Your third cheque from Bob Jane for $1,000.
Thank you, Bob Jane. Very handy to have.
What about the race itself?
Well, as I mentioned, it's a tough track to pass on, so therefore I'd like to be able to make a nice clean start, get away and try and control the race. Now, if that's not possible, I've got a fight in my hands. But either way, I think Fury, Scott, Cross probably, and the two Volvos are going to be a problem during the race. There's no doubt about that. And Jim Richards, I think, because that car's got staying power around here.
OK, Peter Brock, though, the man to beat. He's on pole position for round 8 of the championship. Let's check back on how the first 7 rounds.
Preparing for the Motorcraft 100, round 8 of the Australian Touring Car Championship.
In third place today, well, Peter, I tell you what, you ought to get one of those mechanical hands that they wave out the window of the car. Well, you were shaking your fist today.
I think certainly traffic cost me the race, and no doubt about that. I found it to get through the traffic. I had to use up the car a little bit too much, and right towards the end there I was having to concede a little bit to George and Scotty, but yeah, good race.
Well, bad luck, Pete. Nice to talk to you. We're just about off air.
There's Brock. Brock's car is either locked up solid, something has gone wrong. No, he takes off again. So Brock's...
Graham Crosby, here's Peter Brock's profile. And there's the rundown of his Touring Car Championship performances so far this year. 41 years of age, based in Melbourne. Started his racing career here in a Austin, should I say, A30, a Holden-powered Austin A30, which is pretty amazing. I said to him yesterday, it's taken you about 15 years to do the full circle.
You know, it's 13 years since he's actually raced here, though.
Is it?
Yeah.
So, Peter Brock, man we're following up. Series by 18 points. George Fury.
You know that Brock's having a go when you see him getting sideways through that kink. Just momentary locking of a brake as he got down into the left-hander. The crew of the Mobile Holden dealer team set off this coming Tuesday, to Belgium for the Spa 24-hour Enduro coming up on the 3rd of August. Himself going to Hawaii tomorrow and then across to the States, and then he'll join the team in the following week when he goes to Europe on a fact-finding mission to the States to get some more components for the car. Let's have a look at the man Peter Brock in car 05. Great performance so far from him this year. A 5th at Amaru Park, didn't finish at Symmons Plains when an oil filter blew off, didn't start at Sandown, he was overseas, nor Adelaide. 12th at Wanneroo, 1st at Surfers Paradise, 5th Calder, 3rd Lakeside, 7th Winton. 41 years of age, and of course he's 7th overall in the championship at the moment, although 2nd in this race, and wants to go out on a winning note and let the lion do some roaring. Well, it's still